Fire in a decade, a landmark still smolders. And brought down a Hartford landmark, the biggest blaze to strike Hartford in 10 years. Tomorrow, thousands of you commuting to work will drive by what used to be Royal Typewriter. Tonight, still no word on a cause. Arson, though, has not been ruled out. Tonight, Channel 3's SOOWAL has our story.
The charcoal smoke billowing over Hartford could be seen in Springfield and down to the coast. At 7:30 this morning, some Parkville residents saw flames coming from the abandoned Royal Typewriter factory. Minutes later, the rear of the block-long building was engulfed in fire.
The police came to the door, they banged on the door, and they told us we had to get out.
Melissa Boulier and her family were one of 5 evacuated. Over 100 Hartford and West Hartford police and firefighters responded to the 3-alarm blaze. 10 trucks, each pumping 500 gallons of water per minute, worked on the flames for most of the day. Other firefighters from around the state came just to watch.
Yo, Caprio! Hey, tired or what?
This is one of the biggest fires in Connecticut, recent, and besides being, fire buffs, observing how their professionals are doing their job there and see what we can learn from it.
The Parkville community has mixed emotions about the abandoned plant, built here in 1907. In its heyday, the Royal Factory employed over 5,000 people, many immigrants just getting started in a new land.
I'm feeling very sad. It's a pity to see that building go down.
Every time I go down 84, I reminisce about the old days, and now I guess I won't be doing it anymore.
Watching a historical place go down like that is really sad, and at the same time, it's not so sad at all because for the same reason that we could get a new place there, established again in a new environment and many jobs for the new generation.
Over the years, there have been a number of proposals for redeveloping the property. Last year, Father Chris Rose of Grace Episcopal Church thwarted a plan to put in a high concentration of low-income housing. He also asked the city to have the building torn down.
It hasn't been properly secured. Homeless people were living in it. We were concerned about their safety. Several people have been electrocuted by the wiring, which wasn't shut off inside the building. It may be a blessing in disguise if all goes well. Perhaps this opens up the possibility for new development a lot sooner.
Father Rose says he believes the fire was set intentionally. The fire marshal's office will conduct an investigation. In the meantime, firefighters expect to be on the scene at least another 24 hours, controlling potential flare-ups. SOOWAL, Channel 3 Eyewitness News on the Night Beat.
This was an industrial building, and once it starts burning and it gets a good start, it's hard to put it out.
The fire started on the north side of the structure. A fire call came in yesterday in the same building. Smoke could be seen in the sky for miles. One woman who once worked at the factory and now lives across the street couldn't believe her eyes.
I saw smoke coming out of the building. I said, oh my God, there goes my building. It's going to be on fire.
Tomorrow, fire marshals will move in to look into the cause, and because of some of the buildings are so severely damaged, some of the side streets bordering the plant will be closed to traffic through tomorrow. Over the years, efforts to both develop or demolish the old typewriter factory have been unsuccessful. The building has been empty since the early 80s, but back in the early 1900s, Hartford was called the typewriter capital of the world, and Royal was the granddaddy of typewriter makers. 6,000 people worked there in its heyday, the 700,000 square foot complex boasting an emergency hospital and a library. By 1954, Royal had made over 5 million typewriters, becoming the largest typewriter manufacturer in the world. After a series of mergers, the company ended its 70-year presence. That ended in Hartford. It then moved overseas in the early 1980s to take advantage of cheaper labor and production costs. Well, Bill Mark has been vacant for years. The fire was so intense it could be seen for miles. Fire officials say the condition of the building is limiting their ability to put it out.
Well, it's tough because we can only stay on the outside and just pour water into it. We can't go inside because of the deterioration over the years.
Now, a couple of firefighters have suffered some minor sprays, but those are the only injuries so far. It's expected to take until tomorrow to completely extinguish this fire. After that, the fire marshal is going to try to determine what caused it.
The old Royal factory turned out typewriters for decades, and it's an important piece of Hartford history. Tonight, Action News reporter Jane Saffer tells us many people throughout Connecticut share in that history.
The raging fire ripped through the old Royal Typewriter Company and destroyed most of the Hartford landmarks. An enormous crowd watched as a piece of history fell to the ground.
I'm impressed. I haven't seen anything like this since my early childhood in Dublin.
The factory was built in the early 1900s and employed thousands of Hartford workers. The building has been empty for years, but the sight of the black smoke brought many people back.
Many of the people who are here watching this spectacular fire have close ties with the company that once called this building home. For them, this landmark is filled with memories.
Richard Casasanto worked here for 30 years, from an apprentice to a product design engineer.
It was a wonderful place to work. Everybody was, it was a happy family. And, you know, I don't think there are companies around like this one in this day and age.
Barbara Sutton's father worked on the assembly lines, and she's still holding on to a gift he gave her.
Oh, I've got a typewriter that was, it's 35 years old, the first one of the typewriters that Royal made.
I've lived in the area for years, and my husband used to work there at one time, so it means a lot.
For Barbara and hundreds of others who came to see this site, it's something they're sad to say goodbye to. Jane Saffer, Action News 8, Hartford.
Another historical footnote. During World War II, the Royal factory's operations were converted to the manufacture of automatic rifles.